Hello everyone, my name's Adam or EposVox, and welcome to a quick tutorial on setting up and streaming with OBS in less than 10 minutes. OBS is a live streaming and recording software that's completely free, but still in beta. I would like to note, however, that OBS, like any streaming or recording software worth using, has many complex and finicky parts to it. This video will cover the basics of getting your stream up and running, with links to expansion videos on various areas provided to help you dig deeper into each section of the software. Should you run into any problems, I suggest watching through the expansion videos as well as other OBS tutorials, and head over to the support forums at OBS Project's webpage with any specific issues or troubleshooting. Everyone's setup is different. I nor other YouTubers are not guaranteed to have the right answer for you, but those forums are your best place to get help. Now let's get started. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. It is a great software to live stream your games, desktop, or whatever else. It's a handy video recording software if you don't have Fraps or DX Story, and frankly, it's going to be a bit less laggy for you. Now, in order to get it, you just need to head over to obsproject.com and download your copy and install it. First things first, we need a recording or streaming profile. Here on my list, you can see I have a list of profiles available. You will not have any. You will just have untitled. However, we're going to set one up. So go to settings, and it's going to take you right to the profile option. We're going to create a new profile. I'm going to call this derp. You call it whatever it's appropriate for you. Twitch, YouTube, recording, whatever. And then click add. And that's going to create your new profile that we're going to work with moving forward. Profiles can also be very useful for a variety of other reasons, which I cannot cover in this video. Setting up multiple profiles can highly benefit you, and I suggest you watching my expansion video for more details. Let's head over to the broadcast settings menu. We're going to skip encoding for a little while. Now, you have two scenarios in which you would really be using this. You would either be live streaming to twitch.tv, YouTube, or other websites, or you would be locally recording for just editing and uploading to YouTube. Based on which option you want, you would choose a certain choice. So if you're live streaming, you would choose under mode, you would choose live stream. For your streaming service, you would pick which streaming service you wanted to go to. For example, twitch.tv. Your server, you would choose the server that is closest to you, and then you would get your stream key from your twitch.tv dashboard. Do not let anybody stream your key or see your key, as if they can see your key, they can stream to your stream, and you do not want that. If you are streaming to YouTube, simply select YouTube. And then the path key or stream key is something that it gives you in the ingestion settings when you're setting up your stream event on YouTube. Do note, if you're streaming to YouTube, you need to click the Advanced tab, apply your settings, click the Advanced tab, and set your keyframe interval to 2 seconds. It's just the thing you need for YouTube. Now, if you want to save a local copy of your stream's video just to re-upload or edit or something, check the Save to File box and give it a location. Also, make sure Auto Reconnect is selected. Click on that encoding menu. Make sure your settings are applied. Now make sure the X264 encoder is checked, use CBR is checked, use Enable CBR padding is checked. Now we pick our bitrate. If you're live streaming, you choose your max bitrate based on your upload speed. Use a combination of both speedtest.net for getting your upload speed and a variety of bitrate calculators to determine the speed you need to upload with. Slower the internet you have, the lower the bitrate you need to use. As far as audio goes, as far as I'm concerned, if you have really slow internet, do 128 kilobytes per second right here. If you have decent internet, do 192 for streaming. And if you're recording, choose 320 kilobytes per second. If you are recording, you're going to want a much higher bitrate depending on your computer. The higher the bitrate, the more lag you're going to experience. So if you do not have a high-end PC, you're going to want a lower bitrate. There are also disk speed test programs you can use to determine your disk write speed and choose a bitrate based on that. I use 26.5 megabytes per second for writing, but I have a very high-end PC and separate rated hard drives specifically for recording. Again, post in the forums if you need help. Click the video menu. Video adapter. This is your graphics card, the thing that handles your main screen and all of your games. Ideally, you only have one or two, and it should be pretty obvious which one you choose. If not, you have to figure it out. Check support forums. Laptops get a bit wonky in that regard. Assuming you have a 16:9 monitor, either 1080p, 1366 by 766, or 720p, choose monitor 1 here. And then on resolution downscale, choose 1.5 and 1280 by 720. Click apply. If you do not have a 16:9 monitor and you have a square 4:3 or a 16:10 monitor, you're just going to have to deal with the black bars. You can stretch it out, but it's not going to look very good. Honestly, dealing with the black bars is your best option. Click the audio menu. Desktop audio device. For most people, default should be just fine. This is going to be where your game and main system audio comes out from. This will be your speakers, headphones, laptop monitor, computer monitor, optical audio out, etc. If you have something specific, you can, of course, just click it and find your specific choice, but ideally, by default, that should work for you. Microphone auxiliary device should be self-explanatory. It's your microphone. If you're not sure what to pick, you can certainly post in the forums, but generally, it should be self-explanatory. You should only have one or two choices. Now, if you're having issues where your mic is just way too quiet, you can play around with the mic aux boost here, and it does multiply. So you're going to want to, your 2 should be the highest you go. You don't want to jump it up to 5 or you're going to be blowing someone's ears out, but play around with that as you wish. Once you have all that set up, click apply and click OK. Now you're back in the main window with nothing to do. So first of all, we're going to turn down the speaker icon here down to at least 50%. You're going to want to play around. This is your desktop audio levels, your game audio. If you have it up too loud, it's going to overpower your mic. You don't want that. So play around with it, see what sounds good for you, do some test streams, things like that. Now under scenes here, we're going to right click, we're going to add a scene. This is going to be your scene that people view of your video. So call it whatever you want, test. And then you got to add sources to it. Sources are, what people want to see, your game, your webcam, your capture cards, etc. Again, expansion videos will help you with this. Right click under sources, click add, and here you have a variety of options you can choose from. If you just want to capture your whole monitor for recording flash games, browser games, just your desktop, you can choose monitor capture, and then you have a couple options as there. Default should work fine. If you want to choose game capture for recording a game, you'd right click and go to add and choose game capture. And then you would pick your game. Your game needs to be open or it will not find it. So go ahead and open your game, then refresh this and find your game. Do note that until you go back into your game, start the preview of the stream, go back into your game, and then alt tab back into the streaming program, you will have a black screen. If you still have a black screen after doing all this, you may have some DirectX issues or graphics drivers issues. Again, post in the support forum. This would also be where you would add stream graphics such as overlays, banners, things like that by using an image or an image slideshow. If you wish to add your webcam, capture card, things like that, you would use video capture device. That's where you can choose a variety of capture devices hooked up to your computer, my Elgato, my webcam, things like that. Anything that would not work in XSplit is not going to work here. So as far as I know, HitBox will not work. You have a few more buttons here at the bottom. Preview stream is of course going to preview your stream. Edit scene is going to allow you to resize your specific windows, so you can choose to overlay your webcam over in the corner, resize it, move it around, things like that. You can also right click to adjust position and size, reset it back to the size of the screen, move it up and down in your order list of sources, things like that. Once you're happy with it, uncheck edit scene, hit stop preview, and then you can start streaming or recording based on your settings that you chose in the settings. And you're good to go. You now have the ability to record your gameplay to your PC, just like all YouTubers do, without expensive or pirated software like Fraps or DxStory or Camtasia. In fact, you can do it for free, very easily, and frankly on potentially hardware, computers that Fraps and DxStory cannot handle. Now, so we're going to be recording PC gameplay. This could also be used to record console gameplay, and I'll be doing a separate tutorial for that. Now you're going to want to set some things up here. This is a brand new install, so there's no profile set up or anything. So we're going to get a PC recording profile set up. Let's go to our settings. We're going to name this profile PC recording. We're going to set it to notification area icon because I want that. And then we're going to add the profile, hit apply. You have to hit apply on every single window. That's kind of annoying, but we'll make it work. Go to the encoding tab. Actually, we're going to skip the encoding tab and come right back to it. First, go to broadcast settings. Then click file output only on this drop-down menu here. And then your file path. Now, one thing to note with this, which applies to any sort of recording program ever, is you're going to want to be recording to a secondary or tertiary drive. You're not going to want to be recording to your C drive or whatever drive your games are running off of. So for example, this is my C, my operating system drive where most of my programs are. And this drive right here, the one called Chocolate Rain, is actually where most of my games are installed. So I don't want to use either of these drives for recording. Instead, I have a hardware or a hard drive RAID 0 setup for recording. I'm going to tell it to record to the record folder in here, and then we're going to name it PC_record_, and then it's going to automatically add numbers to it so that you're not recording over the same file. You can set up hotkeys if you want here to set your start and stop recording. This is actually pretty useful. So I'm going to be using slash on the number pad for start, plus for stop, and I'm going to hit apply there as well. Let's go to your video tab here. Here it shows your video adapter, your resolution, all that stuff. Mainly what you need to know here is your base resolution. If you have a lower NPC or a smaller resolution than a 1080p monitor, you're going to want to set this to 1280 by 720, and that is going to record 720p video for you. However, if you have the capability and the screen and graphics card to do so, you're going to want to record at 1920 by 1080, as 1080p video is, of course, the high-end HD that will get people to notice, and it will look better if you do it right. Leave it at 30 frames per second. There's no reason to change that. You certainly don't want to lower it, so hit apply. Some people get kind of confused by this resolution downscale. As long as your custom resolution is correct, you should be all right. The only issue you're going to come into is if your game is set to a different resolution. So something to check here. I'm going to move OBS out of the way. Right-click your desktop and go to Screen Resolution. Find out what your main desktop resolution is. If it is 1920 by 1080, 1600 by 900, 1366 or 1360 by 768, or 1280 by 720, you have a widescreen 16 by 9 aspect ratio. This is the aspect ratio that videos are displayed in. It's the widescreen. It is what 720p and 1080p, as I just showed, are. So if that is your resolution and that is the resolution your games are set up at, you're going to be just fine. If your resolution is one of the other ones, you're going to have an issue of black bars being on the top or the sides of your video. You can adjust this in editing and in post-editing, or you can just stretch it, although that's generally not recommended. But if that is the resolution you're recording at, you're kind of just going to have to deal with it. You can, however, set your game to, like if you have, like Chu, my partner, my fiance, her monitor, which it's actually not even going to show that here. Her monitor is set to 1440 by 900. Actually, it's not even going to show it. That is a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So if you were to record in that, you would have big old black bars on the left and the right of the video. However, whenever we record, we tell the game to run at 1366 by 768, which is slightly higher than 720p, but still widescreen. That way, fills up the whole frame and we don't have any resolution issues. So adjust your game resolution and your screen resolution correctly. Audio. Now, it's probably going to be okay to leave these as default. I want to make sure that no matter what, my mic is detected as my mixer, my professional microphone, so I'm going to change that to that. Your desktop audio device, I change mine pretty regularly, so depending on what I'm doing, my desktop audio may be my monitor or my Elgato capture card, my surround sound mixer, or my Turtle Beach headset. So I may change that depending on what I'm doing, and if you leave it at default, OBS will pick that up, and you won't have to change it in OBS every time to detect your audio settings. Hit apply. Advanced, you don't really need to set anything here. If absolutely necessary, you can try out the mic sync fix hack. However, I wouldn't really mess with it. You can set a noise gate on your mic, and that would take some finagling. I'm not going to go into that here. Not really necessary if you have a good mic and you have that set up well already. Now let's go back to this encoding tab. This is going to be a bit more of a difficult one for those of you who are new to video recording. Just kind of leave those two checked, whatever, that is fine. Constant bit rate for what we're doing with a streaming program is kind of what you're stuck with. You could try quality balance and all that jazz, but it's not necessarily going to work out in your favor as far as performance goes. Max bit rate. So when I'm streaming, I'm going to stream at about 1800 kilobytes per second, which is about 1.8 megabytes per second. That's decent for streaming, but that is really crappy for YouTube videos. And especially after you render it once and YouTube's processed it, that's going to look like a potato. What I use, which is the basic for like capture cards and things like that, is 30 megabytes per second for recording, which is 30,000, well, not 300,000, 30,000 kilobytes per second. If you have a lower end machine or you're concerned about your computer's performance for recording this, I would start at about 15 and work your way up. And I will show you how to notice something in a little bit that will tell you how your performance is going for recording. Audio bitrate, I always set it to 320. That's the highest audio bitrate you're going to get. No reason not to do it. It also affects your encoding rate, but frankly, having good audio is very important, so just leave it there. Hit apply, hit OK, and we now have a PC recording profile with proper encoding settings and everything like that. But now we need our gameplay. So we're going to launch a game. I'm going to run Borderlands 2, which may or may not actually show up in my Camtasia recording here, but bear with me, the fact that it is in fact running. All right, we're going to skip through all the intros and blah, blah, blah. I'll tab back out, go back to OBS. Now this is a situation where multiple monitors is going to come extremely in handy. So if you have a dual monitor setup, you're going to want OBS dragged over onto your second monitor and showing you information while you're still in game. That way you have full observation of what's going on in your stream here. And I will be showing that on the screen with the second recording. So what we're going to want to do in your scene, you don't really, for PC recording, you're not going to want to do you could do webcam overlays, and I'm going to show you that, but you don't need to do graphics or anything like that. So you just need a basic scene. We're just going to name it PC record. Okay. In your sources, go to add game capture. We can just name this Borderlands 2. This basically changes every time you reload a game, so there's no reason to really keep these in your scene or name them or get too attached to them because that's going to change pretty drastically. Then we're going to go over here, find our game, Borderlands 2, and then I'm going to uncheck capture mouse cursor just to be safe, or you could leave it checked. Depending on what game you play, you may or may not want that checked. Hit OK. Then we're going to preview our stream here. Now it's not going to show anything until we pull the game up. And then Alt tab back out, it's going to show a still image. Again, if you have a secondary monitor, which there we go. The game's kind of loading now. Okay. If you have a secondary monitor, you can leave the OBS window on there and still see your game preview, and that will help you out greatly. Okay, I am recording twice at once, so you will notice that it says taking too long to encode, skipping frames. It was kind of dropping frames at 28 frames per second, but of course at a still image it's loading 30. If you're having issues with the frame rate, which is down here in the bottom right hand corner, or if it's showing red instead of green in this bar and telling you like it's having issue with the bitrate, you're going to want to lower it. Now that is your preview. If you set your resolution to lower than the game resolution, like say you're recording at you're playing a game at 1080p, but you're recording a 720p video, you want to go to edit scene here and then drag the game sliders to adjust it to fill up your entire screen, because the 1080p video would be much larger than your actual video being recorded here. Okay? Now, let's say you wanted to record face cam as well. Then you would also go into your scenes here, right click, add video capture device. And I'm going to warn you, mine is facing the ceiling, so whatever. We're going to name this webcam. Now, it would be better to have your webcam set up as a global source in OBS, and I show you how to do that in a separate tutorial already posted to my channel, so don't worry about that. And then you go over here, device, and you can choose your webcam. Mine's the Logitech Pro webcam C910. I'm going to just make sure the audio is disabled. You don't want it like echoing your audio with some crappy webcam mic or something. And set custom resolution. If you're taking up the full screen, then you're going to want to set it as close to your video scene as possible. So if I just have a video scene, then I'm going to want it set to 720p or 1080p. But since it's just an overlay, I'm going to set it to 480p and 30 frames per second because that's our project frame rate. So 480p, 30 frames per second, disable audio. Everything else should be okay. Depending on your webcam, there may be various different options. So you would check with that. This would also be where you selected chroma key if you were doing a green screen, which I have not tested that with OBS to see how good it is. So that's something still to work on. Click OK. There's my webcam. And then using the edit scene option, you can resize it, reposition it however you want, cut off part of it so that it's only got like a square with your face in it or where my hand is here. And you can, line yourself up, test it, click edit scene to finalize it. And there you can record an entire gameplay with face cam. And it has your mic audio. And, oh, crap. One thing I didn't mean to note. If you've ever learned anything about Fraps or other recording software, you know that you have to balance with the game audio. OBS recording will be much like Fraps in the sense that your mic and game audio are overlaid on the same track. So you're going to want to find a balance with your game audio. You can do it using the desktop device option here, but I would recommend against that. I would recommend going into your game and messing with the audio sliders in-game and finding a good balance. This may take a couple test recordings to make sure that the audio is well balanced in the final video before you just jump in and start recording. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Hope this tutorial helps some people out. Let me know what else you want to learn how to do with OBS, and I will jump right on it. And you guys have a nice day. See you next time. Make sure when you're ready to start streaming, you click Stop Preview and click Start Streaming, and that will record the file to disk. If you're just doing the preview, it's not actually saving a file for you, and you won't have anything to work with. However, if you click Start Streaming and Stop Streaming or use your hotkeys we set up previously, it will start and stop streaming for you. And then in the location you specified, it will provide you an MP4 file, which is completely compatible with all editing software and YouTube. You can straight upload it, although if you're doing a very high bit rate, that will take forever because it'll be a big file. Like for that 14 seconds, this file is 50 megabytes. You don't want to really upload like that, but you can import it into your editor and move forward from there. Now, this tutorial is going to be for the purpose of PC streaming, as that's all I have used it for so far, and that's what I want this to be for. I will do a second one for console streaming at some point if anyone's interested. Now, when you open up OBS, you're going to be presented with this window, which looks kind of taunting at first, but just trust me that once you get into it, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do before you do any of this is go to your settings. In your settings, you can set up your setting profile name if you want to. I have it set up to put a notification area icon, which means a system tray icon down here. I don't want it to minimize that, but I do want that icon there just for the hell of it. Next, you click the encoding little tab over here, and CBR is what you always want to use. There's reasons why with XSplit and any other program that tell you that you should use CBR. Now, your max bitrate. That is, if you've used XSplit or any other program, that's going to be what you set for that. But if you're not sure what to set for that, do a simple speed test here. It's based on your internet, so obviously. So go to speedtest.net. Now, because I have a bunch of things going, this is probably going to give me really crappy speeds, but just doing it as an example real quick. I won't even load. There we go. Run the speed test really fast here. It's going to tell you your ping, your estimated download speed from your ISP, and your estimated upload speed. Download speed doesn't really matter for streaming as far as uploading because it's all based on your upload speed. You do obviously want to have a decent download connection regardless, but just saying. Wow, that's actually giving me much higher speeds than... Wow. That's actually pretty impressive for my internet. Okay. Well, what I normally have is 1.5 megabit upload. And so if you have 1 to 1.5, you want to do around 1,000 kilobyte per second upload speed on your video bitrate. and then 128 on your audio. Since I have that, I can almost double that, but I won't mess with that right now because that's probably not an accurate result. That's really weird. All right, and then just leave it as AAC codec, and again, 128 audio is really all you need for a stream. Next, click broadcast settings. Now, depending on where you want to do it, you can tell it to save to a file or to a live stream. We're doing this for live streaming to Twitch. So click streaming service, drop down to Twitch, choose your server. I choose this one because it's closer to me. And then ask for your play path or stream key. In XSplit, it asks you, I think, to log into Twitch. But this is just simply copying your stream key. And it's a little weird to find it. You go to, twitch.tv/broadcast. And it shows you, XSplit or whatever. But then you click show key. And it gives you your little stream key so that you can publish to your stream. So you just copy that off the window and paste it in there. And then you can have a start and stop stream hotkey. I'm going to actually disable those because I screwed up with those. But you can set those to whatever you want. I don't like hotkeys, so I'm not going to use it. Make sure you're hitting apply after everything or your settings will not save. Go to video. Now, this is for essentially your main monitor for where you're going to be taking video. I have my TV hooked up to my GeForce 9800 GT and then my main 660. I want it to stream video from my 660. Its base resolution is 1920 by 1080. And then you set it to a resolution downscale to 1280 by 720 because you want to be streaming to 1280 by 720 for Twitch or YouTube or whatever. So it downscales it a little bit. It has a slight pixelation to that, but if you try streaming at 1080p, it will not work. It will be very choppy and things like that. Hit apply, make sure your FPS are set to 30, and go to the audio tab. Now here's where you get to choose your audio devices. For your desktop audio device, this is going to be where either your game sound or if you want Skype sound coming out, you choose that. This is where at the moment my default for game sound comes out is my optical audio here. And then for my microphone, it's my mixer line in USB right here. You can set to use push to talk. I don't use it. You can also set a delay, but really, if you're streaming, you're going to want to just have your mic open pretty much. You can set hotkeys to mute your mic or mute the desktop. Not really necessary, but if you're, doing very specific things, you can do that as well. Now, something extremely useful for me is you can actually multiply your volume level. For the desktop, that would be absolutely terrible. You don't want to do that because your desktop audio, especially if you have your volume set to 100, by default right here, you do not want to do that because it will just clip and just completely overpower and ruin people's speakers or something. But for your microphone, mine comes in very, very quiet. So you're going to want to set it to, if you have a microphone that's very, very quiet like mine, you're going to want to pump it up a little bit. I found 2 is perfect for me. Now, this is not volume balancing for the stream. That comes later. This is simply just adjusting your input levels. Hit apply, go to the advanced tab. You can change stuff here if you want to. The default settings here work very well. You want your process to remain normal no matter what. Very fast. X264 preset works perfectly fine. There's no reason to change that really. But if you want advanced options, they're here. Microphone noise gate, you can set that if you have weird microphone issues, but I don't really. Defaults for that are fine as well. You get back to here and you still just have an empty window. Kind of confusing, but whatever. All right, first things first is you want to lower your game volume, especially if you're talking in the stream. If you're not talking, then you can mute your mic and turn your game volume all the way up. But I talk in my streams, so I want the game volume turned down. I have found that if I keep my games maximized in my volume here, or in game, so I can actually hear it, then turning it just to that last bar is the best bet. So people don't hear too much game volume, but they hear me perfectly fine. And again, that's having the microphone all the way up. Now, just like in Wirecast or XSplit, you have different scenes, and you can have multiple scenes, multiple sources on the scenes, and things like that. We're going to rename this one. This is going to be our monitor plus webcam scene. Now, this is where things get a little funky, okay? So kind of pay a little bit of attention. With most programs, you either just do like a screen region or, a smaller screen region dedicated to a window or game capture or whatever. You have this in this. in OBS. It's just very confusing at first if you're just looking at it to figure out exactly what those things are supposed to be. So we can set here, you can add an image, you can name it whatever. So let's name like BRB. Well, we'll do that for another stream. So let's add another scene, and this add scene. It's going to be BRB. So this is when I need to go off camera real quick and just basically cover up the entire stream. Then I will have an image for that. You just give it a name so you know what it is in the list. You can change some settings about it. You can, and that's where chroma key comes into place or whatever. But for the purposes of this, we're not going to be doing that. Find an image you want to use. I had a wallpaper set. There it is. Just use that. It automatically fills the screen. If you want to see what you're doing as you're working on it, you preview your stream. It's not actually streaming anywhere, but you can get a preview. It can tell you what it can encode at, what frame rate it's encoding at, and you get to see what's actually going on. And there's your image. So we have our BRB slide done. Back to the monitor and webcam one. First, we're going to add the monitor. We're going to add monitor capture. We're going to make this main monitor. Now, for the sake of live streaming, this is going to be when I'm not in game, when I switch to a window to show people things. And this is what that's going to be. This is going to be, my main monitor. If I get a funny picture I want to show someone from like Reddit or something, then I go there and I can be like, oh, hey guys, here's Reddit. I'm showing you Reddit. And yeah. Or if you're playing like a flash game or something. Next, we're going to add the webcam to it. So you go to add and video capture device. And this is where a lot of things are. We're just going to name this webcam. And it brings up a list of devices that it can detect. Now, it does detect my Elgato Game Capture HD, but I have not tested this yet. So I do not recommend trying it until a proper tutorial is created. But pull up Logitech Pro Webcam C920. Set a custom resolution. You don't really want it set to the maximum resolution like 1920 by 1080 here because that'll lag. The frame rate won't be very good. So what I'm doing is actually setting it to 864 by 480 because then I'm going to hit OK and it's going to add it. And it takes up 864 by 480 pixels. Since I'm not going to have the webcam, at least in this scene, taking up the whole image or the whole window, I don't want it, there's no need to take up resources by giving it the entire resolution. Now, but you can't really do anything with it here, but all you have to do is click edit scene right here. And it gives you the option to, resize, reposition, drag the webcam over here, and you're good to go. Face cam, game or monitor right here. You're showing people stuff. You have your face up here still. You're good to go. Right? We're going to add one more scene. This is going to be webcam alone. Add video capture device, webcam. Browse Logitech Pro Webcam C920. And since we're broadcasting at 720p, I'm still going to drop it down to 720p for the webcam just so it doesn't, again, waste too much resources, get choppy or anything. Works perfectly fine. Looks really good. And honestly, this looks a lot better than it does in XSplit or Wirecast in my experience. XSplit and Wirecast do not like my webcams, but they look fantastic in OBS. All right, we're going to add one more scene here. This is going to be gameplay plus webcam. And of course, you can do them without webcam and things like that. All right, now for this one, we're going to go on and add our webcam here just to add it. So we have something on the screen. Logitech, custom resolution, 864, 480. You can lower that if you want. I just kind of chose that. I think you could even choose square resolution so you can, because obviously I don't need all this stuff off to the side, but I'm just not messing with that right now. All right, next, we're going to add game capture. But for it to detect game capture, you actually have to have a game up. So we're going to find a small game here that we can add that it will add. Something that doesn't take up. Ooh, I know what we can do. We can just do PokeMMO. Since that's a popular series on my channel, I will use that as an example. Going to go full screen, and what you see may be black for a second. So I apologize. Now I'm alt-tabbing now back to OBS. And in your scene where you want the gameplay to be, right-click Add and go to game capture. And we're going to just name this PokeMMO because it ties into the hook, the graphical hook for the game. So it's per game. Now in this window region here, you find your window, PokeMMO. Click that. Just essentially leave everything the same and click OK. And then you're going to want to move it down. And it doesn't show anything until the first time that you pull the game up. So just move it below your webcam so your webcam's over top your gameplay. And then click back in your game real quick. Well, maybe. There we go. Alt-tab back to OBS. And as you'll see, now the gameplay preview is up in the preview. And my webcam's over top. It looks okay. Everything like that. Now, when you Alt-tab out of the game, it does just leave the last frame that the game showed to OBS up. So, yeah. All right, going to close out of this real quick. If you do so, it's back to a black screen. Now, this is how you get things set up for the basic. Once you're ready to stream, you hit stop preview and you click start streaming and you are good to go. I did not mute game volume. You cannot, like, there's obviously you don't preview and stream at the same time. So you just stop preview and start streaming, and it streams to Twitch. It also works with YouTube. It just takes a bit different because you have to set up in your broadcasting settings, you have to set up a custom RMTP channel and stuff like that. So weird stuff with that, but that's just a basic lowdown on how you stream games from PC to Twitch. Now, one thing I do want to note that is specifically why I love using OBS so far for PC streaming is, see the frame rate down here? Obviously, this is showing a picture, so it's going to hold 30 frames per second. But I can play games at the full 1920 by 1080 resolution and stream them down to 1280 by 720 without having to play in windowed mode, without having to lower my resolution, and it keeps a solid 30 frames per second and streams at a decent speed on my processing power. That will, of course, vary from computer to computer, but with mine, it handles it much better than any other streaming software I have used. And so I absolutely love it, and it has done very good for me so far. In this tutorial, I will be covering how to stream to twitch.tv with your consoles, your game consoles, via a capture card. Now, the capture card I'm going to be using for this tutorial is the Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle, which will be about the same for the Blackmagic Intensity Pro. However, if you have an Elgato, I did some testing and I could not get the Elgato Game Capture HD to work. I loaded it up, I did everything as I could, and all I got was this preview window that said no signal. And I even pulled up when the configure menu would come up. Half the time it wouldn't come up. When it did come up, it said my Elgato was not connected. But when I pulled up the Elgato software, it showed my Xbox screen perfectly fine. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Clearly, the program's only in beta, and Elgato's just not supported yet. But running with the Blackmagic design, since the Blackmagic software is very picky, you want to pull up Media Express and make sure it is set up for the right signal so that your game console is actually displayed. Otherwise, you may think it's not working when it really is when you set it up in OBS. And this, again, the same goes for pretty much any capture card that's going to be compatible. So open up your OBS software. If you make sure it's already set up as we set up in the previous tutorial. If you haven't set it up for twitch.tv, please click link, annotation, etc. to view the previous tutorial to get your OBS set up for twitch.tv. Now, once you have OBS set up here, go ahead, pick a scene. We're going to name this console. And once you're in that scene, right click in your sources, go to add and add video capture device. And I'm going to name this BMI Shuttle. Click OK, and it's going to pull up your list of capture devices. I'm going to scroll down, find my Blackmagic WDM capture, hit OK, go to configure, and make sure the audio and the video format is set correctly. By default, it's often set to 720p, 59.94, or 1080i, just randomly, whatever the defaults are. You want to make sure it is set to what your input device is set at. I have the Wii plugged in at the moment, so it's going to be set to NTSC progressive and 8-bit, blah, blah, blah. For audio input device, you're going to want to use device audio. And then I have it turned down to that last block, just like with the desktop audio. That way it does not overpower my voice, because I'm not sure how sending this to the stream and sending it to the desktop interacts. So I'm just making sure the gameplay volume will not be too loud. Press OK. And let's go ahead and preview our stream here. And there you can see the gameplay is. I'm going to click Edit Stream. We're going to stretch it out and make sure it fits the whole screen. With capture devices, by default, it's not necessarily going to fill up the whole screen. Now, this does look a little awkward because I am using, like I said before, a 480p signal, so aspect ratio is a little messed up. But for normal consoles, that would be like the like your Xbox and stuff that's already set at 720. It won't look like this, but make sure it fills up the whole screen and you are good to go. You can stop your preview and start streaming, and you are fully set to go, just like with BC tutorial. YouTube Gaming has just launched, which is YouTube's new revamped live stream platform for game streaming. And a lot of you all have asked me how to set up OBS with YouTube Gaming. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, there's a couple things you have to do first. In your YouTube backend, in your Creator Studio, either on Dashboard or Video Manager, go down to live streaming. And if it's your first time live streaming on YouTube, you're going to see this window. It's going to ask you to just basically make sure that you're okay to stream. Go ahead and click get started, and then it may have you accept something. I've already done that here. Basically, it's just going to have you agree to the terms and conditions of live streaming. Not a big deal. And then you're taken to this platform to set up your live stream, just ready to go. It's a lot easier than their older version of their live streaming software, and it works pretty well. Now, immediately, it looks pretty overwhelming, but it's actually very easy to set up, and it even gives you a checklist of what you need to do. First and foremost, set up your software. So we're going to go down here to Encoder Setup, and we're going to pull up our OBS installation. Now, in OBS, you want to make sure that OBS is up to date. So go to Help and check for updates. If there's updates, go ahead and install them and allow it to restart OBS. If there's no updates, then you're good to go and you're on the latest version. At the time of recording, that's 0.655B. Now, we're going to go ahead and set up a new profile here. So I'm going to hit Profiles and New, and we're going to call it YouTube Gaming. Click OK. We're going to go into our settings menu. And if you want to know how to set up all the other options for OBS, go ahead and check out the other videos. I've made lots of OBS videos. Links will be in the description below. There will be a whole playlist and on my channel, etc. And frankly, if you search OBS tutorial, you'll probably find me. But we're going to go to broadcast settings, and that's what we're going to worry about here. Now, under streaming setup, we're going to go down here to YouTube. Now, on YouTube, we're going to go ahead and choose primary ingest server, and then under play path stream key, we're going to need this key right here. So what you're going to want to do is click reveal, and you're never going to want to show this to anybody. So this is why I'm doing this on a dummy channel, even though you can reset it. Basically, if anybody sees this key, you need to hit reset and regenerate a new one. So never show it on stream, never show it in a video, etc. Because this key gives someone access to stream to your YouTube channel. You don't want them to be able to do that. So go ahead and copy that key. And then once you've copied it, hit hide and paste it in this box right here. And then if you've shown it to someone, click that reset button. Auto reconnect is fine. All of these settings are pretty much going to be fine. Now, if you want to save a local copy of your stream just to upload later or something, you can do that here. With YouTube, it automatically uploads, so there's no reason to do so. However, if you were streaming to something like Twitch, you would want to do that. One other thing to look out for here is that if you are, just in case you're following this with another streaming software, if you don't have YouTube set up here, you can go to custom and then use this URL that it provides. That's what this RTMP URL is. And then you still use your same key. But since YouTube's an option here in Hitbox or in OBS, we're going to use that key. Now, if you do want to save your local recording, just in case you want to, then you're going to want to tell it where to save to. And we're going to save it to my OBS folder, and we're going to call it YouTube. By default, it chooses an FLV file, but by choosing the drop-down menu, you tell it to be an MP4 file, and then click Save. And then when you're done recording, your recorded file will be there. And then click Apply, and you're good to go, assuming you have everything else set up. I'm going to set that up real quick, and we're going to do a test little stream here. One other thing that you're going to want to look out for specifically for YouTube is your keyframe interval needs to be 4. For Twitch, it's supposed to be 2. For YouTube, you want it to be 4. So just keep that in mind. Now that we have OBS set up, we're going to go ahead and hit Start Streaming. And we're going to do a test little stream. And it's showing my main window here, which we don't really want to see, but that's okay. It's showing that it's sending the bitrate and at solid 30 frames a second. And then hopefully, if we did things right, in a second, this stream preview will show our stream. Next, we move along the checklist here and we add our stream info. So we set up, what do we want to call it? Test stream for OBS. Call it gaming, add a description here. You can see up here at the top, it's already said that it's receiving my content, so it already knows that I'm streaming to it. And then you can add a game title for the YouTube gaming stuff. We'll call it, I don't know, Destiny. There we go, right there, Destiny. And it's automatically saving my stuff. And there you can see the live stream. And we're already live, even though, we have nobody watching. There are extra things you can do as well. You can change your thumbnail. You can create a highlight of your stream as you're streaming. If you change your thumbnail, you can just upload a YouTube thumbnail that you would, just like you would for a normal video. So you can go ahead and upload that one, and it will set it as the thumbnail to show in your YouTube sub box. Up here at the top, it shows what's happening on your stream, whether or not you're live, and what your stream health is, which is basically how optimized your settings are, how long you've been streaming, and how many people are watching you. And then down here, you also have a chat, along with some emoticons and things like that. We'll put one of those in there. Why not? Hit enter, and boom, we're chatting. And then you can set up some other stream options, such as, although these need to be done before you go live, but you can enable DVR, basically that people can go back in time on your stream. That's a very strong advantage of YouTube streaming. Optimize for low latency, that's going to be default, that's what you want. Added delay, basically if you want to delay your stream for whatever reason, mostly in professional situations, you can do that. Monetization, whether or not you monetize your stream, and then you can add cards to your stream, just like you can in videos, which is pretty cool. And that's pretty much it. You just add that key into OBS, and that's all you really need to do to be streaming. And then if we go over here, EposVox plays live, we can view it on the normal streaming page, and it's playing right there. Look at that. And then once you are live, when you go to your YouTube gaming channel, it'll show it here on the front page, and you can click it to go to the bigger player. And here you are. It's showing this screen over here with my audition recording and stuff. But you can see it. It's showing that you're streaming and you have the normal chat bar and everything else. And then you can follow and like and all that jazz. And it works. And that's it. That's all you need to do to stream to YouTube gaming. You just need to be a partnered YouTube channel and set it up in OBS. Hello, everyone. My name is EposVox, and I wasn't even sure I would ever have to address this. But this has quickly become the most commonly asked question that I ever have about using OBS, which is right here. And that is how to stop the audio loop or the audio echo that occurs while you're streaming. I'm going to hit start streaming here on OBS. This is using the latest version. Doesn't really matter what version or, frankly, streaming program you're using. But it's going to start streaming to Twitch. And then once the Twitch preview loads here, there we go. Once the Twitch we get the audio loop here, there it goes infinitely because OBS is also streaming the system. There it goes infinitely because OBS is also streaming the system. There it goes infinitely because OBS is also streaming the system. There it goes infinitely because as you can tell, that is very annoying. That makes the stream pretty much unwatchable. And apparently it just is something that, needs a really big fix. So I'm going to show you how to fix it right now. So let me pull up a basic game here. I don't want anything that'll be full screen. Let's go to PokeMMO. You're streaming PokeMMO, but it's starting to loop through your thing. You know what you need to do? Either close your game or I'll tab your game temporarily and go here to your preview page that you have open in another tab. Make sure you find it. You don't have to pause it, but just mute it. Wait for the echo to start. You don't want to mute it. Wait for the echo to start. You don't want to mute it. There you go. Muted. You can still have the preview up. You can still have it up in another window. And then you can go back to your game and keep playing your game. That's it. That's all you need to do. There's this thing called global sources. It's a button on your main menus here. And when you add something to a source, you can add global sources. And I did not realize, but it's actually quite possible for people to not realize what this is. And it makes sense. And frankly, I think everybody should know what it is. That way you know what you're getting into, because it will make your life infinitely easier if you use them. Okay, so Basically, your sources, what the sources, quote, sources are for OBS are your input sources for video. Not really including your audio in that, just your video input sources, your video capture devices, things like that. So webcams, capture cards if you're streaming from consoles, or if you have some sort of streaming relay system going in there, it would count that as well, most likely. So in the case of the computer hooked up right now, the global sources I would be worrying about for streaming to something like Twitch or YouTube would be my Logitech webcam and my Elgato capture card. So I'm actually going to start with a new, well, we'll just make a new scene here. Add scene, tutorial scene. And then we're going to click the global sources button so I can show you what I'm talking about. Now you see I already have two set up, one for my Game Capture HD, one for my webcam, but we can go ahead and add a new one. And then you can add any of these. Now this is basically it. I'm trying to find a way to explain it that makes it simple to, in general. Okay, so you have, well, I didn't even realize this. You have all these options. You have a set window capture, a set monitor capture, a specific image slideshow, text, game capture, or video capture device. Now, if you make one of these, any of these, a global source, it will be a source that you can add and will be with the same configuration and settings in all of your scenes here. So let's add a monitor capture. And this is just going to be main monitor. That's going to be my main monitor here. We're going to have it to capture the mouse cursor. It's going to be set to monitor 1. All of that. We hit OK. It's recommended to disable arrow. I do not disable arrow, but it will help a lot of you all out with graphical problems. Main monitor. OK. Now in our sources, or in our scenes, say we want something to have the monitor in it, and I will actually probably make use of that. So we'll make a new scene, call it monitor, and then we go to sources and add global source, main monitor. We call it main monitor, good to go. It's already pre-configured with how we wanted it set up. We don't got to mess with this. Now, in most cases, you're not going to be doing this with your monitor so much, but your webcam. So if I preview the stream here, ignore whatever you may see of my face. Hello, I'm over here. Yes, that is delayed. Do not worry. That is intentional. That is delay for the Elgato. You see I have a webcam here. Then I also have a full screen webcam here as well. Now, in order to create something like this, I'm actually going to do a new one here. So we're going to add scene console test. We're going to add a scene webcam test. Now, what a lot of people are doing, and what someone who wouldn't know how to use global sources is doing, is you go into your sources, add video capture device, blah, 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 and then when it pops up here, oh, it crashed. Sometimes in adding that, if you're previewing the stream and you go to add a source to the stream, it's going to crash. I did not think about that. Okay. Add scene, webcam test. And then let's say webcam overlay as one. Then what, like I was saying, those who don't know how to use global sources would be going to add video capture device, blah, 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 okay. And then when this window pops up, they're going to choose your webcam, so Logitech, and then downscale the resolution to 720, add buffering if needed, mess with the audio, this and that. That takes a whole lot of time and can really screw up your streaming if you have things set differently just because you miss a setting or something in different scenes, and it could potentially cause your stream to crash or to screw up or anything like that. However, if we go to global sources and add a global source, and you can have multiple versions of your webcam if you're going to be using different ones in different scenes. I'm going to go to add video capture device, name it webcam test, hit OK. Choose the Logitech C920 webcam or whatever webcam you're using. Custom resolution, set it 720p, 30 frames per second. We're not going to use a delay with this one. This one's not going to be for the Elgato. Hit OK. Global source using this device already exists. Okay, so you cannot have, I was wrong. Forgive me, I was wrong. You cannot have multiple global sources with that, but that would be what you were doing. And then you hit OK. Now if we go to this webcam source here, go to properties if you want to change things. I do have the delay set up for my Elgato. You just kind of set out everything how you want. Hit OK, hit OK. And then every time you want to add it to a scene, be it like one with a little graphical overlay and then one with just the webcam and then one with the console, instead of trying to reconfigure it in every single scene, you just go to add global source webcam and it's there. It's pre-configured, it's set up properly for your scene, and you're good to go. Same thing with the Elgato. I do not have it on this stream, but I can probably pull one up here. Give me just a second. Graphics, social media. There's probably a stream. No? No stream template? Really? Okay. Well, I had little stream templates that I had used in the past. But that's fine. I'm going to make something really crappy in Photoshop in like 2 seconds. So do not make fun of me here. Or Photoshop cannot load, so that's cool too. Okay. But basically, let's just say, let's go to webcam overlay. It would have, actually on this BRB scene, if I go to preview real quick, it says we will be right back. But let's say you want to stream, you want like just a webcam stream real quick with a graphic that has like your social media links. So it says like YouTube/EposVox, Facebook/EposVox, Twitter/EposVox, whatever. And then you want your webcam layout to be here, like kind of just in the corner in this graphic. Then all you would have to do is go to add, global source, webcam, hit OK, preview, edit it so you shrink down your webcam, fit it into your little spot you've made on your graphic here, and you're good to go. You don't have to sit here and change the settings in every single stream file or anything like that. Because again, that would be very time intensive and it would potentially cause compatibility issues that could screw up your stream. Just a kind of time saver thing also for removing compatibility issues, because I know a lot of people are having issues with just kind of crashing their streams. Hope it did help some of you guys out. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching this OBS tutorial. This one is a bit longer than the previous ones. I do apologize, but wanted to kind of explain what global sources are. They're basically a source that applies to all your different scenes with the exact same settings, so you don't have to keep making new ones and changing settings. Saves you time, saves you trouble, saves you energy. Yeah.
In this video, I'm going to be talking about video capture devices. These are anything that captures video other than using game capture or monitor capture within OBS. This could be a webcam, a capture card, a TV tuner, etc. So to set one up, we're actually going to use a global source. So if you don't know what global sources are and you would like to know, check out my video on them in the description below. But we're going to add one for my Elgato Game Capture HD capture card. So to get where I'm at, I've already set up a couple scenes in previous tutorial videos. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new scene. We're going to call this Elgato. And then we're going to leave sources blank until we add the Elgato to our global sources. So as per usual, click the global sources button down here, go to add and video capture device. It's not game capture. It is a video capture device. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it Elgato GCHD, since there's a HD60 out now too that I hope to get my hands on. Click OK. It's going to pop up a list of options for us to choose from. At the top of my list pretty much every time is the Elgato Game Capture HD. That may vary for you. Now here you have a myriad of options to adjust your video capture device, and the same is going to apply to webcams as well. Now over here, if for whatever reason you desire or need to, you can flip the image both horizontally and vertically to create a mirroring effect. However, in most cases, that's not going to be necessary and will only make your video look kind of awkward. You're going to adjust the opacity if you want to make it semi-transparent, again, for some strange reason. And then you can tell it to deinterlace with a variety of different interlacing options. For normal gameplay, if you're gaming on a modern game console to a modern HD TV or monitor, you're not going to have any interlacing. Your signal should be at 720p or 1080p and not interlaced. However, if you're using a capture card to capture from a camcorder at 1080i for video live streaming, you may have interlaced video and you'll want to choose an option for de-interlacing here. You can tell it to choose a custom resolution that it's going to render in OBS at. I'm just going to tell it to do. For video recording, I would recommend leaving it at default and doing 1920 by 1080. However, in most cases, doing video recording from a capture card should be done on your actual capture card software. But for streaming, I would tell it to do 1280 by 720, as streaming at 720p is going to get you the best results. Over here in the audio side, you can tell it what to do as far as audio input device. Of course, you want it to use the device's audio if it's a capture card, so you can get your game sound in there, and then you can output it to stream only and set your volume levels. You will, of course, have to do a couple test preview streams to see what the audio levels look like and figure out which setting you should have it at, but in most cases, you should have it pretty low if you're going to be using a microphone. Now, if you're using a webcam and using an external microphone like I would in most of my streams, you would want to simply just disable the audio device entirely because you're only going to be using your microphone. With webcams, that's pretty much all you need. You also have the option to chroma key your video footage. This would be how you green screen your video, and people green screen themselves on top of their live streams. Set that up, choose your green screen color, and play around with the options to get the best result for you. There's no live preview with it, so it will take some testing and configuring to get it to work, but it actually works pretty well. For a capture card, you of course don't want that. For certain capture cards, you will need to go up here to configure, and hopefully it will pop up an options menu for your capture card. I've discovered with the Elgato Game Capture HD specifically, it doesn't always do it. And then you're never given any options. And then OBS kind of disables and freaks out because it can no longer detect the Elgato, and you've got to set everything back up and select your device. And it gets kind of frustrating. I don't entirely know why it's caused, but ideally when you click configure, it's going to pop a menu up for you. But with most other capture cards or video capture devices, you should not have this problem. For example, if we go over here to my C930E webcam, go to properties, and hit configure, we're immediately given options, and it works really, really well. And that's it. Then to get your capture card on there, we just right click, add global source, and that pick whichever video capture device you want. In this case, it's the Elgato Game Capture HD. And then we preview our stream here, and it will at least show us the 1 moment please screen, and we can resize it to fit our stream appropriately. And there we go. Now this does look a bit more like a 480p image than a 720p image. But again, you got to get that menu to come up for it to work with Elgato. Maybe it'll come up now. Yep, there we go. Here it is actually set to HD 720, allows 60 FPS if you have a 60 FPS capture card. I do not. And to stretch standard definition input, and we're good to go. You have your stream image here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to best make global sources work for your streaming and to set it up very efficiently. Now, global sources, which you can access by this main button on the main screen here, clicking global sources. Global sources are basically a way to just set up a default template for basically any input you want on your stream. This can be images, video capture devices, your monitor, your webcam, anything like that. Now, why would you use this? Because otherwise, when you're creating multiple scenes that use the same input, you would have to keep recreating all the settings that you want to use for those devices over and over again, which can be quite the pain and lead to some incompatible settings or just inconsistent settings. So for example, we're going to create one for my main monitor here. We're going to go to add monitor capture. It's going to be main screen. Click OK. Capture monitor 1, that is my main monitor here. You can make one for your second monitor as well, which I normally do. You can change any settings you want here. Most of what you would change would be your mouse cursor, and that's pretty much it for a monitor. Click OK, and suddenly you have main screen. Now, if we create a scene, let's say this is monitor, and then we have a second scene that's monitor plus webcam. in each individual scene, instead of having to go to add monitor capture and set all that up, I can just go to add global source main screen. Boom, it's there. And the same thing there in monitor plus webcam. And it's already set up, and it's going to be the exact same across both. Now we can do the same thing for webcams and other devices. So we're going to go back to global sources, go to add video capture device. Let's call it C930E webcam. And then we're going to find my webcam. There it is, Logitech webcam C930E. This and for video capture devices such as capture cards are going to be when you really need this, because these settings vary much more than monitor captures. Here I can set it to custom resolution. It should already be at 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames a second. Disable the microphone on it, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it, including chroma keying. So you don't have to manually set up your chroma key every time you add your webcam. You can just add it once and be done with it. We go ahead and add that to global sources, hit OK, and then for monitor plus webcam, we can also add the webcam on top of the monitor. And then if we preview the stream here, and then go to edit scene and resize it here, put it on top, suddenly it's set up really, really well. Now, one other use I would like to show you for global sources that will make your life much, much easier is going to be for image slideshow overlays. So we're going to add a scene, monitor plus overlay, and then one more called monitor, I can spell, plus overlay slides. And this is how streamers get their on-stream stuff that has like their name and a little border and things like that onto their video streams. I'm going to go to global sources. We're going to add one. It's going to be an image. I'm going to call it overlay, because that's typically what it's called, as a stream overlay. And then you find your image. And again, you only have to do this once because you're setting it up as a global source, which will save you a lot of time in creating various stream setups, especially if you're doing them on the fly while streaming. We're going to use this Epos Hearthstone overlay that my friend Blizzard Ball made for me. We're going to get it open and then tell it OK. And then monitor plus overlay here. Actually, we're just going to do monitor plus overlay slide so I can show you all at once. So we're going to, all using global sources, add global source, main screen. It's going to be my monitor. Add global source, C930E webcam. Okay. Add global source overlay. And then we're going to right click the overlay, go to order and move down, or you can click control down so that it's between my monitor video and my webcam video. Now, if we go to preview stream and go ahead and hit edit scene, we have to resize the webcam again to match the overlay. Same thing with the overlay, as it's going to be smaller than the overall stream. So we got to edit it and just basically make it fit the entire scene here. We're going to go ahead, Control Z, I got to right click it. If you drag it like that, right click it, hit fit to screen, and it will resize it for you. Click back on the webcam, and we're just going to make it fit in here. It's very rough. You can line it up however you want. It takes time. You can also use the arrow keys once it's selected. Line it up perfectly. And it's hard to tell since it's repeating here, but it is lined up in the actual overlay. So I'm going to uncheck edit scene. And now my webcam is under my overlay. The only thing we have to do next is set up an image slideshow to show my sponsor slides there. We're going to do that very easily, really, really fast here before the video ends. We're going to go to global sources. We're going to add, and we're going to do an image slideshow. Sponsors. Time between images, I'm going to make it about 5 seconds. Fade in and randomize. Then we're going to find my custom setup slides specifically to fit in that layout. You, of course, will have to have a graphic designer or yourself make them for you. And now I have a slideshow of all of those, really easy to add to any scene I want. So I'm going to go to add, global source, and sponsors. And then again, we're going to preview the stream. We're going to hit edit scene, and we're going to move them down here and fit them to our overlay template here. And as you can see, it's randomly going to fade in and out through the different slides on my overlay. And we have a professionally-ish setup, stream overlay with sponsor slides, myself, things like that, all set up and ready to go. In this tutorial, I'm going to be explaining profiles, as profiles are something very useful to have within OBS, but something that's a little not intuitive to understand how to properly set up. Now, by default, in our previous tutorials, we just set up like an untitled profile, and that was it. We just worked within that one profile. Well, for doing something like recording separately from streaming, you don't want to have to sit there and put in your Twitch key every time. Well, in order to create a new profile, all these buttons are grayed out, and you would think that, well, you can't add one for right now. But actually, all you have to do is type in a new name. So we have streaming and recording. So let's do one for YouTube streaming. And then you click add. Your other profiles are still there, and they still work fine. But now you have this one, which you can customize any which way you want. Save and apply your settings, hit OK. And then in this profiles list, you have 3 profiles to choose from. That way you can easily swap between high quality recording, Twitch streaming, or YouTube streaming. And I'm actually going to go ahead and rename my just regular streaming to Twitch streaming. Click rename. And when you go to the broadcast settings, it's still Twitch. Hit OK. And you see this is the scenes for our Twitch stream. The YouTube one, recording. Now, a recent question has been in regards to when you start recording a game, people's screens are black, like they're not able to record the game. Now, there are 2 possible solutions for this issue, and so you kind of got to play around with your settings, play around with your computer, and then if these do not work, I suggest posting in the support forum for OBS and getting some support there, as I am not a resource to use for support for running OBS. Now, first issue, your graphics driver, be it AMD or NVIDIA, update them. There's often graphics driver incompatibilities that cause your game to not be able to be detected by the DirectX hook that OBS uses to stream your game. Now, one thing to note is this will be a bit more difficult if you're running on a laptop, but I can assure you streaming a PC game from a laptop that you're running on the game on the same PC is probably going to be very difficult for your computer to handle in the first place. I would highly not recommend it. And that's also probably why a lot of you all are taking too long to encode down at the bottom. Moving on past that disclaimer, the second possible solution is that you actually have the wrong video device specified in the settings. And I did not apparently cover this enough in the first tutorial because I did not think that would be an issue. But in order to fix that, for example, let me touch on that a bit more. For example, in some laptops, you have like your default Intel integrated graphics that your processor has, and then you actually have an NVIDIA graphics chip in there as well, which your games handle. And then, for example, let me open up my NVIDIA control panel here. I have... Hello, lag. Okay. I have 2 graphics cards as well. I have my NVIDIA GTX 660, which is my main gaming graphics card, and then I have a 9800 GT, which is like an 8-year-old graphics card that basically just supports a couple monitors, but I also have set to PhysX as a dedicated card for just some extra detail. And again, just to support extra screens. You may have a very similar setup in your laptop and frankly not even know about it because the laptops don't really want you messing with that. Now you have 2 options. One that a subscriber commenter mentioned is that if you know how to do it, you can actually tell your graphics card in your laptop to make OBS run on your NVIDIA card. Now, an example of how this might be done is by going to your NVIDIA control panel, going to manage 3D settings, and then in here, you can add a currently running program. So click add. Takes a second to pop up. And then you can find OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. Click add selected program. And then there might be an option for you to just basically dedicate it to, make it run on the NVIDIA card. And then you can adjust settings from there, things like that. Then hit apply, close out that window. The second option is to double check your settings. So go to your settings in OBS, click the video tab, and then where it says video adapter, That's actually where a lot of people are probably having the wrong thing selected. In here, you probably have, instead of like your dedicated NVIDIA or AMD graphics card, you probably have default Intel integrated HD graphics or something selected. Now this will work for your desktop if you have Intel integrated HD or whatever selected as your video adapter. That will show your desktop just fine, but it will not show your games because your games are going to default to your second card, which supports the games. So simply change that, hit apply, hit OK, and you're good to go, or you should be. And again, if driver updating doesn't work, if changing your video adapter doesn't work, I highly suggest posting in the support forum, as there are people there who will help you out pretty quickly. So if you've ever tried to record Five Nights at Freddy's with OBS, you've probably run into this issue. Well, let me pull it up. I'm using Five Nights at Freddy's 2 as an example because that's the only one I own. You're going to run into this issue where it's surrounded by black bars. And you may be thinking to yourself, why in the world would it do that? Go into your video settings and you check it out and you're like, I've followed Epos's other tutorials. I'm at the right aspect ratio. I've got the right resolution. I'm either at 1080p or 720p. I've got all that right. Why do I still have black bars? And if you click Edit Scene, you'll find that the little red boxes are all in the right corners. So what are you doing wrong? Well, the issue is that Five Nights at Freddy's runs at a 4:3 aspect ratio resolution of 1024 by 768. To give you a kind of, bit of context then to that resolution was popular in like 2001. So that's the only resolution it runs at. Thankfully, if you're running it, when you run it, it runs at full screen for you. It just stretches it out. So how can you fix this for an OBS recording? It's actually quite simple. In your OBS scene, when you have it going here, under your sources where you have game capture for your Five Nights at Freddy's, assuming you have it set up following my other tutorials, otherwise go check out my other tutorials in the description below. Right-click your game capture source, go to Properties, and then in this window, you'll see Stretch Image to Screen, click that, and then click Ignore Aspect Ratio. And this will make it look in OBS just like it looks in the game on your computer. Now, Alt-Tab to the game, Alt-Tab back, and it looks exactly like it's going to look. That's all the game's going to run at. And then you can record it in 1080p or 720p, no problem, and have your video. And then you can add your webcam in the top corner or what have you. Hope this helps some of you out, as I've had quite a few people ask me why they can't record it without the black bars. This is your fix, and in this video I'm going to be going over an updated tutorial on how to stream to twitch.tv via the OBS, or Open Broadcaster software. Now, I've done this tutorial previously and you've maybe already seen it before, but it's been requested I update it for 2015, and that's what I'm going to be doing here in this video. Now, I'm going to assume you already know what OBS is and have it installed. It's a free live streaming and PC recording software, and you can watch my other videos on it or download it via links in the description below. This is what happens when you first open up OBS. You're greeted with this very blank and kind of intimidating screen. So let's get your settings set up first. Click the Settings button on the bottom right-hand box here, or either up here on the top bar, Settings and Settings. Your first tab is going to be your General tab. This is where you set up profiles. Profiles are going to be different options of streaming options, such as resolution, where you send it to, etc., for different purposes. So for example, I have this one that I'm using for this tutorial. I have one for recording to my PC in 60 frames per second. I have one for streaming to Twitch, etc. If you wish to make a new tutorial or new profile, simply type the name of your new profile. So let's call this, yellow, and click the Add button. Then you have some options for your language, whether or not you want a notification area icon, which will put it down here in your system tray, whether or not you wanted to minimize to that option instead of the taskbar, whether or not you want the cursor over the projector. The projector is a full screen output, which I will show you in a minute, where you can project it to just show full screen on another screen. This is extremely useful for podcast and radio show broadcasts and things like that. A feature from Wirecast that was very much requested by myself to be featured in OBS. And then you can have a log window as well. Now, one thing to note is every time you change something in a new tab, hit apply before you hit OK or change tabs. That way your settings are actually applied. Click the encoding tab. Here's where you're going to set up your video bitrate. But first, you have to kind of determine where you're sending your video first. So we're going to skip this for the moment and go down to broadcast settings. Now this is where you choose whether or not you're recording to your computer or live streaming. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to be doing live streaming. So we're going to choose a live stream, and then we're going to select a streaming service. We're going to do twitch.tv for this one. We'll do twitch.tv and Hitbox in this one. But there are other options you can choose from, and if you wish, I can do other tutorials for, primarily YouTube's the only other one I would really do a tutorial on. So let's do Twitch. Next, you choose basically your server location. Since I'm in the eastern side of the United States, I'm going to choose one in Virginia because that's closer to me. Now it's asking you for a stream key. This is basically just a private string of numbers that Twitch gives you to authenticate you as your streaming, just as a streamer. So we're going to go up here to twitch.tv/broadcast/dashboard. You can also get to this by going to twitch.tv, signing in, and then clicking dashboard. It's just your streaming dashboard on twitch.tv. And this is where you're going to sign up or, put in what game you're playing, what the title of your broadcast is, what language you're in, and you can see chat and a video preview. This is going to be a tutorial on more things besides twitch.tv, so I'm not going to go hugely into Twitch functionality, but that's kind of what it's for. So on your dashboard, click Stream Key. Now this is going to give you that, you click Stream, Show Key, because anybody who has access to your channel, or anybody who has access to your key could in theory broadcast your channel. So you don't want to show that key to anyone. So like for right now, I'm not going to show it on video, but you click Show Key, and then you copy that, and paste it right here in the path or stream key. Same thing with Hitbox. If we choose hitbox.tv, then choose a server closest to us, say Virginia, it's going to want a stream key. Go over to hitbox.tv, click your profile icon in the top left, click live stream settings, and then you can show a key and paste that in there as well. It's going to be the exact same format as Twitch, just to a different place. Now you have auto reconnect, which you're going to want to leave checked, as that is an option to basically, if for whatever reason your internet cuts out for just like a split second and you want it to automatically reconnect without just ending your stream, it will do that. However, you can also set a timeout so that say after 10 tries it still can't connect, then it's going to just stop streaming so it's not freaking out on you. A handy feature here is to automatically save your stream to a file. Now this means you can save a local copy of your live stream. Now, unlike programs like Wirecast, you cannot record a different quality than your current live stream settings are, but you can, and this is still handy to create a local file of it so that way you can create like a highlights video or something without having to download it off Twitch and then re-upload it and lose all your quality through that. So to do this, you're going to want to choose a location. Now, by default, it's set to record to a .flv file. However, you can record to an MP4 file simply by telling it where to go. So I'm going to tell it to record to my hardware RAID and give it a name. I'll name it tutorial, and then see when you change it, it already has MP4 selected. If not, there'll be flash video, but you can tell it whichever one you want. Just simply type in the extension. So I'm going to call it tutorial.mp4. Now, every time you stream, it's also going to save a tutorial.mp4 file, and then just add in like 1, 0, 2, 3, 4, etc. in parentheses after this. OBS also now has a replay buffer. I don't entirely know how this works because I've not seen a way of actually initiating the replay. However, it can save an initial temporary file which acts as a replay for playing replay back. I assume this is a functionality they're going to be best addressing in future updates. This is of course still very much a beta software. So to set that up, simply choose a different save location. By default, it's going to my D/videos folder. That's fine, basically wherever, and we'll name it obs-replay.mp4, and then you can tell it how long you want the replay to save. Keep in mind it's going to take up space based on that. So I'll say save 15 seconds of replay. That'll take up 4 megabytes out of 4 gigs that it can possibly save for that. Click apply. Now you also notice down here that warning, your OBS settings are not optimized, and then it has some other settings that you'll want to change in advance to optimize. You can either go do that and check them out, which we'll do in a minute, or simply click optimize and it will automatically change that setting for you. And then you're good to go. So let's go back up to the encoding tab. On here, it's what you set the bitrate, or basically kind of like the quality that you're streaming to on Twitch or Hitbox. Now, I'm not going to answer in the comment section down below which bitrate you should use, But what you can do is go to OBS calculator on OBS's website, Estimator. That's what it's called. obsproject.com/estimator. Link will be in the description. It'll ask some settings about what hardware you have and what your internet speed is, which you can get by going to speedtest.net. Run a quick speed test, and it's going to tell you your estimated upload and download speeds. Simply pop that in the calculator, tell them what resolution you plan on streaming, and it will tell you a bit rate to use. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's a starting point. And then simply put that number in here. For my internet connection, I typically stream about 3450 kilobytes per second. This does run on kilobyte. That runs on kilobit. There's a difference. For the most part, you're going to want UCBR and UCBR padding enabled and leave custom buffer size unchecked. For audio quality, please at least turn this up a little bit. It obviously impacts your speed, but I'd say always stream at least 192 kilobits per second audio. And then 44.1 kilohertz is what most things run at. It's not going to hurt you, whatever format you choose. I just choose that. Again, hit apply. And then let's go back down to video now. Now here's going to have your video adapter. If you're having difficulty getting, say, anything to show up, say it's showing like a black screen or something like that, you will want to make sure that this is selected the right device. I only have one graphics card on my computer. It's a GTX 970, and so that's what I have checked. But if you're on a laptop that has multiple devices, you want to choose the right one for you. On certain laptops, you may have two devices such as Intel integrated graphics, and even on some desktops actually, such as like AMD or Intel integrated graphics and then a secondary NVIDIA or AMD graphics card. Your games are going to be running on the AMD or NVIDIA graphics card, whereas your basic desktop stuff is going to be running on the Intel or AMD integrated card. Now this may show up as any number of things such as Intel Graphics 5000, etc. That's going to be totally unique to your system. I can't really tell you which one to choose. You're kind of going to have to make a rough estimate on that. And then choose the resolution of your monitor. If you don't, for whatever reason, know this, you can minimize OBS, or minimize everything really, and then right-click your desktop and go to Screen Resolution, or if you're on Windows XP-ish, go to right-click Properties, Screen Resolution, and then look at your main monitor. For me, it's 1920 by 1080. So, go back into your OBS settings, under Video, make sure it says 1920 by 1080. And then for resolution downscale, if you have decent internet, which is, I don't know, that's per person, but say you're streaming at least 1,000 or between 1,000 and 4,000 kilobytes per second, that's your streaming resolution, you're going to want to downscale it down to 1280 by 720. If you stream at full 1080p at a low bit rate, then you're going to get a lot of choppiness and artifacting. That's totally unnecessary because if you just downscale it to 720p, it's going to look 10 times better. This doesn't actually slow your system down any, and it can make a huge difference on how your stream looks. If you're streaming at super low, say like under 1,000 kilobytes per second, then you're going to want to drop it down to 852 by 480 and stream at that resolution. It's less than 720p, but it's going to look a lot better. You can also choose your frame rate here. If you're not partnered on Twitch or Hitbox, you cannot stream at 60 frames per second. So frankly, there's no point of setting 60 unless you just want a 60 frames per second highlight reel that you're going to upload. But if you're recording instead of live streaming, setting it at 60 frames per second, if your computer can handle it, that's something you're going to need to play around with, is whether or not your computer can handle that. Then you can set it to 60 and record a 60 frames per second video. Click apply. Now, one more thing I want to note about resolution is right here where it says 16 by 9. If you choose a monitor, let's say I choose monitor 2, you can see here the resolution is 1280 by 1024. Its aspect ratio is 5:4. That means that 1280 by 1024 is a square resolution, which is a square monitor. Some people still have these. Some people have monitors that are like 1440 by 900, which is a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. Unless you run your games in a window at 720p or 1080p and have it at 16 by 9, if you stream with these kinds of monitors, you're going to have black bars either on the sides or the tops of your video on your live stream. There's nothing you can do to fix this other than like cropping it out and making it look bad. So if you're running on a non-16 by 9 monitor, you really just kind of have to deal with it unless you're going to run your game in a window instead of full screen and run it at a 16:9 aspect ratio. Just something to note. Audio. This is where you choose your microphone or speakers and stuff. So by default, desktop audio device, that's what your games and stuff play out to go to your stream. I'll leave it on default. For microphone, I'm going to choose line in on my Scarlett 2i2 USB interface. That's what I'm going to use. And then you can change, you can add an extra boost to your microphone or desktop audio. I leave it at default because mine's just loud enough. If you notice yours is just way too quiet, you can add in a boost here. However, it is a multiplier, so changing it to 2 will multiply your volume by 2 times, so don't just jack it up or you're going to blow out your recording. Click apply. The hotkeys option here is where you can set hotkeys to automatically mute your microphone, start the stream, stop the stream, etc. Change that to your liking or leave them blank. That way, if you're in-game and you can start and stop streaming, you can just hit the keys. The advanced tab. You can leave most of this as normal. If you're experiencing some issues, you could change this to super fast, the preset. However, I recommend leaving everything at normal, just how it is at default, except changing the keyframe interval to 2 seconds like OBS suggests. You should only really be changing this if you know what you're doing or if you're posting in their support forums if you need help with OBS and they suggest you change something. Leave Quick Sync Encoder alone if you even have that option. Browser you're not going to have because I'm using a plugin. And the noise gate, you can enable a noise gate which kind of tries to cut out background noise on your microphone. However, it is very primitive and you're just going to have to play with it if you understand any of it yourself to learn it because I use a dynamic microphone, so I don't actually need a noise gate on my microphone. Once you're done with all these settings, hit OK. You're almost done. The next thing we need to cover are scene collections. Scene collections are just groups of scenes that you would display on your live stream of input sources, such as images, video sources, your desktop, webcam, etc. For a basic live stream, you only need one of these. You can view mine here where I have, if I preview the stream, I have a starting stream image, a BRB image, my monitor, which is set to the wrong one at the moment, my webcam, etc. Like I said, for a basic stream, you'd only need one. The only reason you might want multiple ones if you do separate streaming and recording or separate types of streams, separate series, etc. So simply hit File, New, or Scene Collection New, and give it a name. Now's the time to start setting up your scenes. At any point in time, if you've set up a scene, you can hit this Preview Stream button, which is going to give you a preview of what your stream would look like without actually streaming it. And then if you need to resize something, you can click Edit Scene, and it's going to put a box around it, which will allow you to resize it and do different things with it. We'll explore that in a moment. To start editing your scenes, use the default one it gives you, right-click it, and go to Rename, and determine what your purpose is going to be for it. I'm going to call this one Webcam. Now, you're going to want to utilize global sources for certain devices, such as your webcam, images that you're going to use often, or video capture cards, such as the Elgato Game Capture HD or HD60. I explained global sources in another video, which you can view the full video to view an in-depth look at global sources. But basically, it's a way of identifying one device that you're going to use consistently throughout multiple scenes, without having to set it back up individually each time and causing issues. So click the Global Sources button, and if you're setting up a webcam, and click Add, and we're going to add a video capture device. I've done an in-depth video on video capture devices as well, so you can check the link for that. But we're just going to cover the bases here. I'm going to call this C920 because my webcam's the Logitech C920 and sometimes I have multiple hooked up. On your device, we're going to select which one we want. Leave everything the same. Make sure audio input device is disabled if we're using a separate microphone or have the audio set up separately inside the actual stream. If you have this webcam microphone selected in the stream audio and you have it put here, you're going to be given a huge echo that you don't want. So make sure it's disabled in the actual video properties. And click OK. Within that properties window, you could also set up chroma keying for green screen, things like that, delays, but we're not going to mess with that for right now. And then I'm going to click and add an image. This one's going to be my BRB image. And then I'm going to click Browse, and I'm going to find my image that I've made for my BRB image. Now, this can be for, you can make this with a variety of different programs. I use Photoshop for my design work. You can use whatever. I'm not going to be doing a tutorial on this as that's a graphic design tutorial that I'm not suited to make, but you can find plenty of them online and learn to do graphic design yourself. Now here's my BRB image that I use for tutorials, and then I click OK. Now I have a couple global sources set up here. So for my webcam stream, I'm going to right click under Sources, go to Add, I'm going to go to Global Source, and hit C920. I'm going to click OK. Now, if we preview the stream, there's my webcam, and it's full screen. But say we don't want it to be full screen. I'm going to hit Stop Preview. We're going to right-click, add a scene. We're going to call this Desktop plus Webcam. We're going to go to Sources. We're going to add, and then we're going to go to Monitor Capture. This is going to show your whole desktop for a monitor in case you're wanting to stream something from your web browser or you doing like Photoshop work or something like that. I'm just going to leave the name Monitor Capture. You're going to have your choice of different monitors, so you're going to have to know which one's which. You can also view that via the screen resolution window that I showed you before, and click OK. Now we're going to right-click again in Sources, hit Add, Global Source, and C920. Click OK. Now when we preview stream, you still see the webcam full screen, but if we hit Edit Scene, this red box comes up, and we can drag the corners of it to resize it and put it wherever we want. So I can put it in the bottom right-hand corner, and suddenly I have face cam while streaming my desktop. You can put it wherever you want, any size that you want, etc. Very useful for setting up live reaction face cam videos and things like that. I hit Stop Preview here. Next, we're going to add the image scene. So we're going to add a scene, call it BRB. And then this is what you would use if you needed to step away from your stream real quick. So we're going to add a global source of our BRB screen. And then now, anytime we're streaming, say we're streaming our webcam real quick, hello, 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 and then we need to step away, we can just click BRB, and now all it shows is the BRB screen. Pretty simple. We're going to make one more scene here. I'm just going to call it test because we're going to do a couple things with it just to show off. You can also do, instead of a full desktop capture, you can add just simply a full window capture. And so if you add window capture source, you can add... Your options are only going to be limited to what kind of has graphics going on in it. So at the moment, here, we can try that. It's my streaming software I'm using to record this with. Now if I hit preview, it's only showing the window of that program. So it doesn't matter where I move the window, it's only going to show the window of that program, and I can overlay that onto something else. You can also add game capture, right here, game capture. And we can call that game. And then it's going to look for similar things where it hooks into whatever game's graphics you have going at the time. Now, you do need the game running and have pulled up the graphics for it before it can make the hook with this. So if you do this before you open your game, you have to come back and actually add the game capture and then select your game before you can use it. But then hit OK, and it functions in a similar way, but it's going to be looking for a DirectX game. So you got to make sure you have a game running. And then you can add over top your webcam and things like that and do the same stuff. Lastly, if you wanted to add text overlay, right-click, add text, call it whatever you want, and then you can choose from any font installed on your system. You can make it bold, you can make it italic, you can change the size, you can add an outline or stroke, and you can choose it from file, which is how some of those programs for like currently song playings and things like that are coming from. This is a test, and then hit OK, and then hit edit scene, and it overlays that on top of your stream, which you can do whatever you want with. Although obviously if you're scaling it up, you're going to want to change the font size up, else it'll look like a pixelated mess. And that's pretty much it for scenes. There are other extensions you can do with this program with plugins, like you saw here. If I go add to CLR browser, that's a plugin, so you can add web browser updates on over top of your stream. You can add sub alert to it. You can add lots of things like that where it pops up when you get a new subscriber or follower or donation. You can stream, record, or start the replay buffer. You can manage your global sources down here. And then you can also change the volume of your desktop audio and your microphone. This is extremely useful for making sure your stream sounds okay before you start streaming. So let's say we hit preview stream here. This is a test. You can see how loud my microphone is and how loud whatever's playing on my computer is, be that a video or a game. And then you can turn that down so that way you can make sure that your voice is coming across the other audio. That is very important to use. And then say you're on the BRB screen and you don't want anybody to hear you, just click the microphone or desktop icon and it will mute either source. This was a bit of a lengthy video, but it was an updated 2015 version of my OBS tutorial and walkthrough to
learn how to live stream from your computer to twitch.tv or hitbox.tv. Let me know what other Twitch tutorials you'd like to see, or well, not Twitch, OBS tutorials you'd like to see in the description or in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out our other videos and channels and the like. Give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, etc. And I will catch you in a future video. Bye-bye.